Up to this point, every time we fired off an Ajax request, we got the answer back very quickly. So we never told the end user, hey, we're running Ajax, hang on. We just showed the results because the results came up very quickly. The reason they came up very quickly is twofold. First, we are running a local server, a server that was running on the same machine as the browser, so there were no network delays. But in real life, there are often network delays. Secondly, we were accessing either a simple static file on the server or running a very simple server program. But in real life, the server programs can be complicated. They can access databases, they can call web services, and so forth. So there's often a delay. What can we do? Well, the idea is whenever you have a slow server operation, you display a message to the end user, often with a little spinning animated GIF that says, hey, I'm working, hang on, be patient. And then when the result comes back, you hide that animated GIF, that little spinner, and the message. The syntax we would use, the approach we would use to do this in jQuery is, first of all, we need an animated GIF. So let me stop right here and show you an interesting site that will let you build and download animated GIFs to use in your Ajax applications. ajaxload.info is a nice little website that lets you build animated GIFs, download them, and then use them in your applications with no requirement that you give credit to their site or that you link to their site. Once you've downloaded the image, it's yours and you can do what you like with it. It's totally ad supported. So the idea is that you select some kind of animated GIF, a little spinner like this, for instance. I might say that the background is transparent and that the foreground is something like this, dark red. And then when I press generate it, it builds the animated GIF and displays it in a little section at the bottom of the page. You can either right-click on the image and save it, or press the download button and save that GIF to your local system, and then you can use it however you want from there on. So in order to display a temporary message and associated image while the user is waiting for the Ajax results, we first make an animated GIF, and one way to make it is to get it from ajaxload.info. Then we put the image and some sort of message like, I'm waiting for the server, please be patient, in an HTML region, the image plus the text in an HTML region, often a div, and we specify that it has display none. When we say display none, it's hidden. The user doesn't see anything. Then before we fire off the Ajax request, on the line before we call $.Ajax, we make it visible. We call the jQuery show function, which has the effect of changing it from display none to display inline, and now the user sees the message and the associated animated GIF. Then after the request finishes, we call hide, and it disappears again and they see the final result. The one caveat here is we should use the complete handler, not the success handler. The reason for this is, what if something goes wrong? You don't want to start the animated GIF, hey, I'm working, and then when something goes wrong, just leave this animated GIF running forever. Then they won't trust you next time. So whether it's successful or unsuccessful, hide the animated GIF. All right, so here is an HTML region, in this case an H2, and it says display none. So the image and the text are hidden. The user doesn't see anything, but we can make it visible with the show function of jQuery and make it invisible again later with the hide function of jQuery. So before we hook this all together, let's just try that interactively in Firebug. So here's the HTML page that I just showed on the slide, deployed to a web server and then loaded in a browser. So the ID of the region that contained the image and the text was called working. So to look up an ID, as we know, we use a pound sign. We give the ID, and let's see if that finds anything. And sure enough, it finds the region. And so now we can make it visible with show. There it is. And then we can make it invisible again later with hide. And so let's do the same process, but let's hook it to an Ajax call. We'll call show before the Ajax call, and we'll do hide not after the Ajax call, but after the Ajax result is complete. So we made an HTML region with display none. We just verified interactively that we could hide it and show it in jQuery. And then we hook it to Ajax. So we show the region before we even make the Ajax request. Then we want to hide the region after the result comes back. Remember, Ajax requests are asynchronous. So we cannot put the code to hide the region on the line below $.ajax, because $.ajax doesn't wait until the result comes back. The success handler is invoked when the results come back, but it might continue on right away. So we need to hide it from the complete handler. And the reason we're using a complete handler instead of a success handler is so that the region disappears whether or not the Ajax request was successful. So pop up the little region, make it visible, that has the animated GIF and the message saying we're getting data from the server. Then make an Ajax request. And in this case, I'm going to invoke a function that has a server program that has a deliberate delay in it so that we can actually see something happen in between. And then after it comes back successfully, we insert the text into the page and we hide the message. All right, so here's my server-side program. And again, this is not a class on Java. I don't expect you to learn JSP. I don't expect you to understand exactly how this works, but let me just explain it so that you can see what I'm doing even though you can't reproduce it yourself. This means wait for 5 seconds. This means spit out a text showing the current time. We've done the current time part before, so you're probably familiar with it. But the line above it means wait for 5 seconds. So suffice it to say that when you call to this JSP page on the server, it waits 5 seconds and then it spits out the current time. I'm delaying for 5 seconds so that we can see some temporary results in between. So when I press the push button, it displays this region and it fires off an Ajax request to the server. It takes 5 seconds. When it comes back, you hide the region and you display the response from the server. So you don't need to do this all the time, but if you have a very slow network, it's connecting across the ocean to something that may be slow, or if your server-side process is very slow, you're doing a lot of database connections and you're worried that the end user might think nothing is happening and leave the page or click it again or something like that, display a message to the end user saying, hang on, I'm working. Then when the result comes back, hide that message and show the final result.